Why is it that no matter how much we achieve, no matter how much we own, no matter how complete our life appears to others, there's still this quiet emptiness inside us? Maybe you've felt it. You get the promotion, you buy the new car, you decorate your home, you even find yourself in a relationship that looks right on paper. And yet, when the noise settles, when the distractions fade, there's this hollow space within. It doesn't go away. And the more we try to cover it with things, with achievements, with pleasure, the more it silently grows. Krishnamurti often spoke about this feeling of emptiness as something deeply human. It's not just you. It's not a personal flaw. It's not that you're weak or broken. It's that most of us live our lives chasing after fulfillment in the wrong places. Society has conditioned us to believe that if we just add one more layer, more success, more recognition, more wealth, more experiences, that hollow space will finally close. But it doesn't, because the emptiness is not a lack of something. It is the result of being disconnected from ourselves. Let's be honest, most of us are constantly running from silence, running from being alone, running from simply sitting still and facing our own mind. So we fill our days with endless activity, with goals, with plans. We measure our lives against the lives of others, constantly asking, am I doing enough? Am I achieving enough? Am I as happy as they seem? That question itself is born out of emptiness. And every answer we find is temporary, like pouring water into a bucket with a hole at the bottom. The real problem, Krishnamurti would say, is that we are always trying to fix emptiness by adding more to it. But emptiness cannot be filled by addition. It can only dissolve when we understand it. Think about it. When you feel lonely, what do? You look for company. When you feel unworthy, you chase validation. When you feel lost, you search for purpose in work or relationships. And for a moment it works. For a day, a week, maybe even a year, you feel full. But then the hunger returns, and you realize it wasn't real fullness. It was distraction. This is where Krishnamurti challenges us. Can you sit with that emptiness without rushing to fix it? Can you look at it directly, without judgment, without trying to escape? Because if you can, something profound happens. That emptiness reveals itself not as a void to be filled, but as a mirror. It shows you how you've been living. It shows you the patterns of your mind, the constant seeking, the endless comparison, the need to become something else. And once you see it clearly, the emptiness is no longer a problem. It becomes a doorway. But here's the catch. Most people don't want to do that. It feels scary. The silence feels unbearable. The idea of not running after the next thing feels like giving up. Yet the truth is, this emptiness is not your enemy. It's a signal. It's pointing you toward the fact that life, lived through endless chasing, will always feel incomplete. Imagine this. You're at a party. The music is loud. People are laughing. The energy is high. But deep inside, you feel isolated. You're surrounded by people, yet you're disconnected. That's emptiness. And in that moment, your instinct is to grab a drink, make small talk, distract yourself, pretend everything is fine. But if you pause, if you step outside for a moment and really listen to what that emptiness is saying, you realize it's not about the party. It's about you. It's about the way you've been avoiding your own mind. Krishnamurti would say that emptiness is the result of living secondhand. When we live according to what others expect, when we measure ourselves by society's standards, when we constantly imitate instead of discovering for ourselves, life loses its authenticity. And when life lacks authenticity, no matter how much we accumulate, it feels empty. So the question is not, how do I fill this emptiness? The question is, why am I empty in the first place? That's a radical shift. Because when you ask that honestly, without trying to escape, you begin to see the structure of your mind. You see how much of your life is built on comparison, on competition, on the need to prove yourself. And once you see it, the illusion loses its power. This doesn't mean you stop working hard or stop enjoying life. It means that work and enjoyment are no longer a way to cover the emptiness. They become natural expressions of living, not desperate attempts to feel whole. That's the difference. Think about the times in your life when you felt truly alive, not because you achieved something, but simply because you were present. Maybe you were watching a sunset. Maybe you were listening to music. Maybe you were just walking quietly, and for a moment there was no comparison, no chase, no thought of what's missing. In that space, the emptiness doesn't exist. Why? Because you are fully here, not somewhere else in your mind. That is the key. Emptiness only exists when the mind is reaching out, trying to become something, trying to fill itself. But when the mind is silent, attentive, awake to the moment, there is no emptiness. There is only life, raw and complete as it is. But here's the paradox. The more we chase experiences that promise to make us feel alive, the less alive we actually feel. Think about how often we scroll through social media, searching for that spark of excitement, comparing our lives to curated images of other people's happiness. In those moments, we're not living, we're measuring. And every measurement creates more emptiness, because comparison is endless. Someone will always seem richer, happier, more successful, more loved. If fulfillment depends on comparison, then emptiness is guaranteed. Krishnamurti often said that freedom begins with observation, not with effort, not with discipline, but with simple awareness. Can you observe the movement of your own mind when it feels empty? Can you notice how quickly it reaches for escape, through food, entertainment, work, or relationships? Just observing, without judgment, without trying to correct it, begins to shift everything. Because when you see a pattern clearly, without resistance, the pattern starts to lose its grip. This isn't about withdrawing from life. It's not about rejecting pleasure, success, or relationships. It's about ending the illusion that any of these things can permanently solve the inner void. When that illusion ends, you are free to enjoy them without the constant pressure of needing them to complete you. That freedom is what makes life meaningful. Not the objects, not the achievements, but the ability to live without depending on them for your sense of self. Let me give you a real example. Imagine someone who feels deeply empty, and they decide that the answer is a relationship. They fall in love, they pour themselves into the other person, and for a while, it works. The emptiness seems gone. But soon, the same old feeling creeps back. Now they blame their partner, thinking, maybe this isn't the right person. Maybe I need someone else. So they leave. They search again. They repeat the cycle. What they don't realize is that the relationship wasn't the problem. It's the idea that someone else can fill the emptiness inside. Until that belief is questioned, the cycle will never end. Or take the person who believes their career is the answer. They chase promotions, recognition, financial success. And yes, there's a thrill when they achieve a goal. But soon the excitement fades and the emptiness returns, often stronger than before. So they set a bigger goal, thinking this time it will last. But it never does. The chase becomes endless. And in the process, life passes by, filled with activity but lacking depth. Krishnamurti reminds us that to face emptiness is to discover something extraordinary, because behind that emptiness lies the possibility of a completely different way of living, a life not based on becoming, but on being. When the mind stops chasing after what it lacks, it begins to see what is already here. The sound of the wind through the trees, the quiet presence of a friend, the simple act of breathing. These are not small things. They are life itself. But let's be clear. This is not about forcing yourself to appreciate the present. It's not another technique, another strategy to fix emptiness. Because the moment you try to use the present as a tool, you're back to the same game, using one thing to escape another. Real presence is effortless. It happens when the mind is no longer running, no longer searching. It comes when you are willing to stop and look at what is, without fear. And yes, it's uncomfortable. The first time you stop running, the emptiness may feel overwhelming. But if you can stay with it, not escape, something shifts. You begin to see that the emptiness is not a monster. It's not a hole to be filled. It's simply the echo of a mind that has been conditioned to always want more. When that conditioning loses its power, the echo fades. What remains is not emptiness, but a quiet sense of wholeness that doesn't depend on anything outside of you. This is why Krishnamurti often said, "The ending of becoming is the beginning of being." As long as you're trying to become someone, to become happier, more complete, more important, emptiness follows you. But when you stop becoming, when you stop measuring life through achievement or comparison, you discover that you were never lacking in the first place. So the real question is not how to escape emptiness, but whether you are willing to face it directly, to sit with it, to see it without judgment, to stop running. Because in that stillness, something remarkable happens. What you thought was emptiness is not emptiness at all. It is space. Space for awareness. Space for clarity. Space for life to unfold without the constant noise of seeking. And in that space, you realize you are not broken. You are not missing anything. The sense of lack was created by the mind, by comparison, by the endless chase for more. When that chase ends, even just for a moment, what remains is not a void, but a fullness that has always been there. This fullness doesn't come from possessions or achievements. It doesn't come from others. It comes from being present, alive, awake. And once you taste it, even briefly, you begin to see that no amount of success or failure can take it away. So if you feel empty, don't rush to fill it. Pause, look, listen, because emptiness, seen clearly, is the doorway to wholeness.